Hi. Assalamualaikum and good morning, everyone. So, my name is Bazli. My actual profession is an economist. I have a CFA charter, but my training as my degree or my master's degree is in physics. So, where do I work? So, let's just tell me. I'll talk about myself basically today. And the first is I'll start off with my employer. Where I currently work is at PNB, Pemodelan National Berhad. And what is PNB? Some of you may have heard is that PNB is one of the biggest fund managers in Malaysia. We manage 350 billion ringgit of assets, and which is held by over 16.5 million unit holders. And over the last 40 years or so, the fund has distributed over 260 billion ringgit in income or dividends to our unit holders. So let's talk about myself. So my own journey actually, and when it comes to university, what I did I graduated from the University of Warwick. So I studied physics, and this has to do with particles, has to do with quantum theory, which is why it has the title. Where I studied stuff like, I actually published a paper on plasma physics. And my final project was actually on something called neutrinos, which you may have heard from the movie in 2012. And it's very different as you imagine from, say, fund management, which is what PNB is at the moment, right? So, because my career here is what I do as a day job is like myself and my team, we actually look at the economy, we look at the global economy. My team in particular, we try to forecast or basically look into a crystal ball what is going to happen to FX rates and commodities. Or more simply, what's going to happen to oil prices, what's going to happen to the ringgit, our forecast, and that sort of forecast is then used by fund managers, by equity research analysts, by traders, by fixed income portfolio managers to help them in terms of trading, in terms of forming views or long-term investment thesis. So it seems very different, but in many senses it's also very similar because there's a lot of, say, problem solving that is involved. There's a lot of calculations and technical things you have to learn, and it's an ongoing, continuous challenge. So I'm just going to talk, here's a quote by Richard Feynman. So Richard Feynman is a famous physicist that if you look at some stories such as Big Bang and whatnot, some of the squiggly lines that you see on the whiteboard, he is responsible for because that he came up with something called the Feynman diagrams. But in this particular case, there's an interesting quote I heard, is that he said that, I learned very early the difference between knowing the name of something and knowing something. So what that means here is that is also reflective of my own journey because when I started in finance after I graduated, there's a fact that we learned a lot of, say, jargon basically. PE ratios, PEG, dividend discount model, etc., blah, 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 lots and lots of technical stuff. And so I learned the names, but I never really understood them. But as I was going along my journey, actually things started to click because they sort of make sense. Because for those of you who know, in a sense, half of CFA formula is just basically some sort of discounted cash flow model. They're just using different terms, different jargon. And once you get used to that, actually things start to click and things start to make sense. So I personally find it very challenging to memorize things when it comes to, say, learning any exam. I prefer to understand. And in many cases, I end up like forgetting a formula and I have to derive on the spot. But understanding, I find, is something that is more valuable than just memorizing the name. And where does CFA come in? That's something that helped bridge the gap between physics and investment because it helps me learn about, say, all the different jargon. It helps me learn about why these things matter. I take the view that the CFA Charter is actually, for the field of investment in particular, is one of the best qualifications of studies that you can do. And personally, and the thing is, I know that the charter itself is quite cool and you get to put 3 letters behind your name, But even if you do not actually finish it, which statistically speaking, those who try do not, the actual journey in learning the actual topics is valuable by itself. So I tell my team, even if you don't complete, it's fine. Just read the textbooks, learn it, apply it on a daily basis. The CFA charter itself is not particularly difficult in terms of material, honestly. It's just that they stack the odds against you because you have to remember everything at once, and you have to do all the exams in one day. So that's where the challenge comes in. And in a sense, there is a certain element of real life to that because, if the market is sliding and there's a crisis happening, you don't have time to look up all the textbooks anyway. But then again, there's ChatGPT. But then, of course, the risk of that is hallucinations and whatnot, so you might trade into something a bit weird. So my journey itself was not a straightforward one, you see. When I went to the exams, right, so my first attempt for level 1, I passed in November of 2017. The very next year, in June, I passed level 2. And then the year after that, I failed. So at the top there is my results for level 3. This is how it used to look like. I think it's a bit different format now. The blue solid line there is my score. The minimum passing score is the dotted line. So you can see I somewhat failed by about 1 or 2 pixels. As you can imagine, it was a bit frustrating at the time. So and after that, I got a bit stuck. 2020 came. We all lived through that. There was COVID. There was the pandemic. And what happened then is that, I was seconded to the Ministry of Finance. So that was, quite frankly, I was just so busy. That was the year that I had to commute to Putrajaya. And that here is a picture of the Ministry of Finance war room, as it were, because we were busy with so many different sort of stimulus packages, policy packages. And you can see the Ministry of Finance at the time, Zafro, and myself back there. So basically that year, I'm not going to even try to sit for the exam. I tried the next year. Even then, I pushed it back. And honestly speaking, when it comes to this, there's a psychological test to it. I did at some point say to myself that if I don't pass this time, I maybe not just give up on the whole thing entirely. That's not a good attitude to have, but I'm saying that even in success, there are still doubts that plague you, so it's normal. But the point is as well is that really, to end my presentation, is that the detours in your journey, the failures, the pauses, the unexpected opportunities are not distractions. They are what build your resilience and define your impact. So my journey for CFA was not a straightforward one. It was not like one of those, first year, second year, third year pass very easily. It was, there are hurdles. And my own passage is actually about average. I tell to my team, if you sit for the exam this year, just study, expect to fail, but hope that you pass. So if you do fail, at least for your first time, you don't get too shocked, because I think one of the issues is that for many of you high flyer students, you're used to your A's and your 90 pluses or your 80 pluses, and when you fail for the first time, it's very shocking, and then you give up. But the thing is, it's normal. It's not, you did not fail because you were not smart enough or you were hardworking enough. It's just that life gets in the way, because the challenge of CFA is that you have to do this while you are working, right? And included in this diagram, in case you recognize it, is a map of Middle Earth and journey by Bilbo and Frodo and Sam. And obviously their journeys were very winding and difficult as well. So if you have any questions for me, I will be around. Feel free to stop by and say hi. I will also be at the career counseling hot desk if you want to have a chat later. With that, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much to our first guest speaker up on stage, Mohammad Bazli, Binche Rozenan CFA. Give him another round of applause, everybody. Thank you very much for sharing with us your CFA journey as well. Up next, let's welcome Dr. Yoke Yue, CFA. Let's give her a round of applause, everybody.
Testing. Hello. Good morning. My name is Yoke Yue. I'm from University of Reading, Malaysia. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share about my CFA journey. As you can see from the picture, the first picture shows the year when I was sitting for CFA Level 3 exam. I was carrying a baby in my hand, and there are many textbooks in the living room. By the time I graduate, I received the award, that little baby has already been running around the graduation ceremony. Instead, there is the only one picture that I take because I was very busy catching her playing with the Christmas tree in the hotel. So, balancing work, family, pregnancy, and study is definitely not easy. So I hope that my sharing my story will give you some inspiration and motivation. How can we balance our life if we have to do so many things at one point of time? Basically, as you can see, just now from the previous slide, I think it doesn't work, sorry. I want to go back. The secret to my success is I only study 1 hour a day. Back then, I was working with Filio Allied Bank. I hold the key to the bank branch. I open the bank door every day. And I study from 7:30 to 8:30 in the morning before the bank starts. That is the only time I have. And I don't really study before I go for the examination. I sleep well before I enter the exam hall. So the secret to my success is 1 hour a day, early in the morning. That is the sacred time that I use to be able to pass one of the toughest exams in the world. This slide and the pictures actually illustrate my learning journey. I actually signed up for a course. That street is near Jalan Petaling. I remember taking an LRT from PJ to Kuala Lumpur to go to Petaling Street. I'm the first batch of students of College Kasturi. Back then, I remember level 1, there were more than 100 students in the class. Up to level 2, the class size is 40. So the rest may not be able to make it. By the time I'm in level 3, I think only 10 students left, and I passed. I don't know what happened to the rest. I signed up for a college is because that time we don't have official CFA study material. That was in 1999. So I actually gathered all the textbooks. I get to know Raleigh, Damodaran, Fabozzi. I believe some of you know their names. They are the famous author for fixed income. Actually make it a point to gather every single textbook. If I read one textbook I cannot understand, I look for similar textbook with the same topic. And the college supported me with Stella and Schweitzer study note. These are the two brands I remember. I'm not sure whether it's still there. My point is, you have to be really understand about your learning style. Each of us may learn differently. Some of you may learn by reading, may learn by listening, discussion, socializing, or writing, or practicing, hands practice demonstration. We have different learning style. So you have to fully understand your learning style. Do you know this gentleman in the picture? Do you want to take a guess or you know him? David Mel is the Mr. David Mel. Okay, I want to. Someone asked me why his picture is on the screen. Now I'm going to tell you the story. I sit for the exam at University Malaya Examination Hall for 3 years. And I have to drink coffee in order to keep myself alert because the exam was 3 hours in the morning, 3 hours in the afternoon. During my level 1 exam, I bumped into my lecturer, Mr. David Mel. He is sitting for level 3 exam in the same exam hall as me. So one of the most rewarding experience that I feel, David, is that okay? One of the most rewarding experience is I get to know the most daring, the most courageous, hardworking, amazing people in town, in the financial industry, when I'm part of the community of the CFA society. That's why his story appeared there. And the other thing interesting is, basically when I go to the college, the class starts from 7 and end at 10. I actually leave the class at 8 o'clock because my intention is to collect all the notes. All right, that time I think internet or whatever reason, we don't get the material easily. So my intention is to collect all the study material and bring home. And I sneak out of the class, which is not a very good behavior, okay, teacher, it's not a very good behavior. I left the class at 8 o'clock to go home. But I don't really understand what the lecturer are teaching at that point of time because after work, I'm very tired, I cannot concentrate, and I don't learn by listening, I learn by reading. I know my learning style very well is by reading. So I collect all the notes and sneak out of the class. By the time I'm in level 3, it's very obvious, all right? I was pregnant when I was in level 3, and that pregnant woman, my classmate, that pregnant lady leave the class, bonding class, so they tell me like that. So that is the story behind my whole learning experience. I hope that you will find the right way for you to study. Then, next slide, please. How to change? Okay, it doesn't work. Okay, what are the benefits that I get from the CFA journey after I pass the exam? The door seems to open for me. Can I go back to the earlier slide? Yeah, I want you to see how many employers that have hired me from the slide. Because CFA qualification is like a passport. I'm actually what I call myself one of the least ambitious CFA chartered holder in town, because I can just leave a job and go somewhere, all right, when there's a demand from my children, from my family. But somehow with the CFA qualification, door seems to be open. All right, so I get to change job very easily. After I got my charter, I worked for Combat Asset Management, TA Security. I went to Singapore and worked for a college, Singapore Institute of Commerce, Sunway, Southern. That's where I studied PhD on part-time basis for 6 years. And after I graduated from PhD, University of Reading hired me. So I think the CFA qualification give me the confidence, all right, give me the grit to overcome any challenges that I have. Because I always ask myself, if I can overcome one of the toughest exams in the world, this little challenge is nothing, all right? Whatever study material that I have gone through is so tough. If I have a up and down in my life journey, I can also overcome. That is the confidence that the whole journey has given me. Lastly, the last slide is about study skill, all right? In terms of time management, the Eisenhower decision matrix is very useful. You have to, if you are a candidate, you have to understand that the qualification is very important to you, all right? It must be something valuable and important to you because that will stimulate your internal motivation. And whether it's urgent or not, it depends on when is the exam. All right, the closer the exam, the more urgent, and just do it. Just study hard, you can make it. And this time, I actually have a list of value question A that I use to motivate students during orientation, a welcome week. So I asked the student to select 3 most important values in their life and 3 least important values, the 3 most and the 3 least important values, because there are so many distractions from everywhere. We have to be very focused. Then we know that what is important for us. You remind yourself that this is what you want, this is your goal, and you will do it. And every year I bring students to the CFA Pathfinder Summit. I didn't know that the CFA journey rewarded me in a very different way. Many years later, the little baby that I carry, my daughter, she also attended the CFA Pathfinder Summit. She actually volunteered as a photographer for the student over the last 2 years, but this year she has already graduated. I didn't know that the CFA journey rewarded me in such a meaningful way. So I'm committed to education, and I hope that my sharing somehow will inspire you in a unique way. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much to Dr. Yoke Yue, CFA. Wow, what a fantastic journey. Thank you very much for sharing with us. And we have one more guest speaker with us this morning as well. Let's welcome Mithali Mittra, CFA, up on stage, please. Come on, everybody. Give her a round of applause.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Mithali. I don't have slides like the other two speakers. That was really beautiful. But I just want to tell you and speak from my heart. Okay, so it was actually a very funny story how I ended up on this stage today. I just actually recently completed my CFA charter last November. That's not even a year ago. And without realizing it, I must have checked a box somewhere. So when the invitation landed in my inbox, I was like, whoa. To be honest, my first instinct was hesitation. Public speaking was definitely out of my comfort zone. Yet, after attending a few forums, I embraced the opportunity because it was the power of sharing stories that made me feel connected, inspired, and empowered. And that, yes, led me to speaking here in front of you all today. So what if what I can say can resonate with even one person in this room? That's the butterfly effect in motion. Okay, so like every good story, mine started with a little push. And I'm gonna be real, I had a real big push from my mom. Unlike you, I didn't hear about CFA through a career fair like this by my own choice. My mom was in the investment profession herself, and she had been pushing me to sign up for the CFA program. Not gonna lie, there was a lot of resistance coming from my part. I was fresh out of university, just like you guys, I'm assuming, and I did not want to see another academic book again. And I was also feeling very low in my life, and I did not have faith or confidence in myself that I could pass this. And I didn't think I could sit through another 3 years of studying and grinding like I did in university in my whole life. But ironically, the reason why I didn't want to do it became the exact reason I did it, to rebuild that confidence and prove to myself that I could do something hard. So just before COVID, I signed up. But little did I know, I was signing up for the most few stressful years of my life. Okay, I'm gonna be real with you on the struggles, but please bear in mind that this is just my experience. Let's be honest, the exam is infamously known to brilliantly test you. 10 subjects across all realms of investment, and not forgetting the silent killer. I'm sure you guys won't guess this, but it's ethics. The jump from level 2 and 3 to, the jump from level 1 to 2 and 3 was challenging to say the least. I carried my notes everywhere, even to parties. I used to be that girl that used to fall asleep on the couch because I was sleep deprived, but I still wanted to do it all. I remember the late nights burning the midnight oil, trying to wrap my head around topics I couldn't grasp. Shout out to Mr. Derivatives. Whoever invented you, I just want to talk. I used to recite formulas before bed and have nightmares about forgetting them in the exam. And coffee, it became my water. Let's not talk about the stress eating. I'm still working on losing off that CFA kilos today, shamelessly. I've sat for many exams in my life, but this was the first time I walked into the exam room not feeling like I knew everything and hoping the topics I skipped wouldn't come out. But when I walked out the room, the relief I felt after going through that roller coaster overrode the feeling of not knowing how I did in the exam. But the real challenge wasn't just the content. It was juggling all that with a 9-to-5 job, or in my case, 9 to 11 at times. And no, I don't mean 2 hours. I'm talking about 14-hour work days. How did I do it? Honestly, I don't even know myself. Maybe it was the sheer fear of failure, or worse, the thought of having to repeat that studying all over again. But I wouldn't have traded it for anything else. And I couldn't have done it without my family, who supported me, loved me, and fed me when I didn't have the energy to feed myself. Looking back, the real lesson I learned was sacrifice. Being an extrovert, I had to overcome major FOMO. I gave up weekends, trips, and even personal downtime. Every time I was out, there was this little voice in my head saying, "You should be at home studying, what are you doing out?" And it kept me from truly being present. And unfortunately, a side effect of that is that it took a toll on a few close relationships I nurtured along the way. But was it worth it? A straight up yes. Because what I gained wasn't just a qualification. I gained the mental strength, the discipline, and the perseverance. I saw my self-doubt slowly transform into self-confidence, not just in my career, but in all aspects of my life. All those moments of sacrifice, of being uncomfortable, of pushing through, they quietly built something I call grit. And that grit turned into confidence. A confidence that allowed me to go from someone who was scared to speak up to someone who can step out her comfort zone, close deals, but most importantly, stand up and speak in front of you here today, when I was very anxious to do so at first. Okay, when I first started my career at Leverage Finance and Maybank Investment Bank, I always felt like the junior in the room. I was intimidated. I kept doubting myself, which stopped me from voicing my ideas out, especially as a woman. I had the technical skills, sure. That was just the bare minimum, but not the confidence to deliver them clearly to my bosses and clients. The CFA journey sharpened that. Once you've done thousands of practice questions, faced rejection in the form of failing many mocks, and trained your brain to articulate complex concepts under pressure, you naturally become sharper in how you communicate things. It provided me with a strong framework to execute tasks, which was an invaluable skill to influence outcome and maximize value. It gave me the ability to take something as complex as an acquisition financing and break it down for stakeholders and clients in a way that's clear, concise, but most importantly, confident. Because clients don't just buy solutions, they buy conviction. And conviction comes from confidence. CFA gave me that, not overnight, but brick by brick. It taught me that clarity is power. And today, when I walk into a client meeting, I no longer see myself as the junior in the room. I see myself as a trusted and dedicated partner, someone who's put in the hours and can deliver insights with clarity and empathy, paving the way for what it really means to humanize financial services. And that, to me, is the real foundation of what CFA has built. It wasn't just about passing exams. It was about finding my voice, transforming how I communicate and lead. Now, I just finished CFA a couple months back. Post-CFA, I'll be honest, there's a strange emptiness. After years of planning, studying, and sacrificing, suddenly I have all this free time, and I'm wondering what's next. Well, I don't have a perfect answer yet. But what I do know is this. With the technical knowledge, the communication skills, and the resilience that I've built, the world is truly my oyster. And that's the beauty of the CFA. To the world, these letters might just look like CFA. But to those who have it, it stands for grit, sacrifice, and resilience. These letters act as a tattoo to me, a permanent reminder that with dedication and perseverance, I can overcome any challenge. And the greatest obstacles are really the ones within ourselves. As a last note, I want to quote a song that has carried me through the hardest times, and it's by Hannah Montana. It's not about how fast you get there or what's waiting on the other side. It's the climb. I hope to pass this butterfly effect I was talking about to you if you decide to choose this path. Self-development is hard, yes, but the consequences of instant gratification is harder. So choose your hard. Choose you. Thank you.